The other part, not complaint, but just putting the record right straight, is that the last 40 years of my life of teaching in two universities, one Howard University, 17 years, the other, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, the first public university in the United States, for 24 years, adding up 41 years of my life brushed out of this report. How do you think I've been earning my living? I've been teaching and writing. The vast majority of the publications I have been able and lucky to have produced was done during those 41 years. Somebody messed up here. Somebody omitted something very important.
Probably me from this.
No, it's not you. It's not you. I don't know who it is, but it's not you. Maybe it's nobody. It's just an omission, an honest omission. Anyway, I'll end it there. I have prepared a paper and I have made a few copies. I will be ready to give copies to interested people. The rule of law and the administration of justice. Now, I don't think I need to read this. I simply will just summarize the essence of it. The rule of law, I think Mark has actually made my tasks easier by talking about the importance, some of the ingredients of the need for the rule of law, some of the fundamental central parts of the rule of law Mark mentioned. I will add to that the importance of interconnection between democracy and the rule of law. Indeed, without democracy, the rule of law cannot stand. There are two interrelated value systems. So what is democracy? There are two types of democracy, in my view. One is what used to be called the Athenian democracy, direct democracy, in which the Athenian people spoke in their city-state, directly taking care of their affairs. Believe it or not, we have the Athenian type of democracy in Africa. In every village, including in Eritrea, there are popular meetings dealing with their own affairs. It's a kind of democracy which I call direct democracy. We have that. But with the coming of the Europeans and the imposition of the European system of law and state structure, superimposed over the native institutions, we now have, as a result of such this history, two types of democracy. One is direct, the other is indirect, which I say called representative democracy. The villagers have sent somebody to this capital city. They take care of their own affairs in their village, but in the matters of national affairs, which will be touching upon them, upon their life, then they have to send someone else. So therefore, I would call that representative democracy, which is the kind of democracy what people are referring to when they talk about democracy nowadays. Eritrea, having been colonized by Italy, we are, like the rest of Africa, legatees, recipients of foreign imposed laws. In our case, first Italian and then British. So, whether we like it or not, we have to still deal with the challenges posed by this new type of democracy. I would say there are two elements of democracy. First is the doctrinal side, the value of equality. The equality principle is a fundamental notion, part of democracy. And that is also one point at which democracy and the rule of law interlock. Everyone is equal under the law. No one is above the law. Well, it's part of the rule of law. It's also part of democracy. So when we talk about the rule of law, we are talking about the importance of law. The British revolutionary who became part of the American Revolution, Tom Paine, have you heard of him? Tom Paine said that in America, the law is king. The law is king. In absolutist governments, the king is the law. In America, the law is king. So there cannot be two of them. If you're a democracy, then the law must be the arbiter of disputes, arbiter of everything. That is the most important part of the rule of law. And then, of course, the interconnection between democracy and the rule of law, and the institutions needed to support the rule of law, to which Mark also makes references. These are an important part of the rule of law. Judges, the fundamental principle of the separation of powers and the independence of the judiciary, which are the important part of the Constitution, any modern Constitution. These are preconditions for the existence and operation of the rule of law. The idea of the rule of law means first and foremost, everyone is equal under the law, and no one is above the law. No one is above the law. Right now in the United States of America, where I have been observing with great disturbance attempts by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, acting as though he's a king, trying to impose his will on judges, sometimes threatening even that we have to get rid of judges, attacking the root and branch of the fundamental principle of the rule of law, the independence of the judiciary. It's a very interesting, very challenging, in some respects, fascinating, but also disturbing experience we are going through in America. I have been in America, living in America now for over 40 years, so therefore, that is a very important part of my life. As it happens also, constitutional law is my study. I'm a student of constitutional law, and therefore what's happening in America right now, in terms of the role of the Constitution, Trump has not said the Constitution is dead, unlike you know who. But he behaves as though it is rounded under his feet. But no, not in America, not in America. There's a strong judiciary, a strong political system, the opposition, a strong civil society, strong profession, the lawyers, and other professionals who are up in arms against this attempt to undermine the rule of law and democracy. Why this man ever even wanted to attempt to undermine the rule of law? He could rule, I think he could get his billions of dollars without undermining the rule of law. But I think just as we are now mystified by what motivates Isaias to behave the way he's been behaving recently, beating his chest and blowing kiss to the public and saying, Al-Kastarnan, Al-Kastarnum, we have not lost anything. A man whom we had considered, most of us anyway, as very rational, extremely intelligent, very rational, has been behaving irrationally. If you ask me to explain this in terms of social science, political, historical explanations, I would say no, that not be enough. I think there has to be some kind of psychological or even psychiatric explanation, analysis rather, to explain his behavior. But that's by the way. It's not my topic. I just want to say to go at it by the way. Now, I'm being told that I have 2 minutes. I thought I had 30 minutes.
No.
There's been revision here, Mr. Chairman. By the way, I wrote an article which appeared in the University of North Carolina Journal of International Law and Commercial Regulations called Democracy and the Role of Parliament under the Eritrean Constitution. I have an off-print here which you can, anybody who's interested? Everybody. Who shall I give it? The chair. The chair. The chair, yeah. The time limit forced me just to conclude. The rule of law as a universally applicable principle is an integral part of the human progress, of the legal and spiritual evolution of humanity. One of the achievements of the post-World War II period has been the growth and universal acceptance of human rights under the rule of law in all their varied forms. Following in the footsteps of the UN Charter, numerous international resolutions and declarations have been adopted by the UN General Assembly, beginning with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948, which marks a milestone in the evolution of the international law on human rights. The declaration has provided the basic framework for the future development of different aspects of human rights and influenced the writing of national constitutions in this respect. The 1948 declaration was followed, of course, in 1966 with what Mark referred to as the protocols, codes on human rights, social, political, and economic rights. Secondly, a country may have a body of laws, but a body of laws without the rule of law is like a human body without a soul. The same is true with a constitution without constitutionalism. The rule of law is one of the pillars of a constitutional system that provides for the protection of the civil rights and liberties of citizens. The essence of the rule of law is grounded in basic human needs for certainty of rights and protection against arbitrary power. It is thus conceptually opposed to the whims of capricious rulers and, as such, could not have been granted by the good will of kings or princes, nor did it drop from the sky as a heavenly manna. It is the outcome of millennial struggle waged by suffering humanity and attained incrementally with enormous sacrifice. Thus viewed in a historical perspective, the rule of law has become a patrimony of the people. The people obey the law because of their faith in the rule of law. Simply stated, under the rule of law, all persons have equal access to the law. In other words, all are equal in the eyes of the law, and no man is above the law. Put differently, the rule of law creates the condition for obedience of the law, which in turn ensures peace and stability. Conversely, the absence of non-observance of the rule of law encourages disobedience of the law. Thank you.